in the bustling corridors of Apex Tech, where the hum of fluorescent lights mingled with the ceaseless tap of keyboards, a clique of ambitious executives gathered in the break room like conspirators in a spy thriller. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and fresh ambition, the kind that fueled late-night brainstorming sessions and cutthroat promotions. At the center of this group was Lisa, the HR manager with a penchant for meddling in everyone's personal lives under the guise of team building. She leaned against the vending machine, her perfectly manicured nails drumming a rhythm on a can of diet soda, as she outlined the plan to her accomplices. Tom from finance, with his perpetual smirk and calculator-sharp mind, Emily from sales, who could sell ice to penguins but thrived on drama, and Raj from IT, the quiet enabler who handled the logistics without asking too many questions. The target of their scheme was Sarah Thompson, the sharp-tongued marketing lead whose confidence bordered on arrogance. Sarah had been on a tear lately, regaling anyone within earshot about her impeccable taste in men. "I only date winners," she'd declare during lunch breaks, flipping her glossy auburn hair over one shoulder. CEOs, entrepreneurs, the kind of guys who own yachts and make deals over champagne. No scrubs for me. Her stories were legendary. The venture capitalist who'd flown her to Paris for a weekend, the tech startup founder who'd gifted her a diamond necklace after their first date. But beneath the bravado, her friends, or rather her colleagues who pretended to be friends, sensed a vulnerability. Sarah was single again, and her boasts were starting to sound like defenses against loneliness. That's when the idea struck Lisa like a bolt of mischievous lightning. "Let's set her up on a blind date," she whispered one afternoon, her eyes gleaming. But not with just anyone. With someone who'd make her eat her words. The victim of this prank, Mike Harlan, the unassuming janitor who'd been with Apex Tech since its early days as a scrappy startup in a dingy garage. Mike was the invisible backbone of the office. He mopped the floors after midnight spills, fixed leaky faucets that threatened to flood the server room, and unclogged printers jammed with confidential memos. Always with a quiet smile and a nod, he moved through the building like a ghost, his toolbox his constant companion. No one knew much about him. He kept to himself, humming old jazz tunes under his breath while polishing the executive suite's glass doors. He was in his mid-30s with a rugged build from years of manual labor, salt and pepper hair cropped short, and eyes that crinkled at the corners when he laughed, which wasn't often in front of others. The executive saw him as the perfect punchline, humble, hard-working, and utterly beneath Sarah's lofty standards. "It'll be hilarious," Tom chuckled, rubbing his hands together. "Imagine her face when she realizes her mystery man is the guy who empties the trash bins." Planning the prank became their secret obsession. They chose the company's lavish annual gala as the stage, a black-tie event held in the grand ballroom of the city's most upscale hotel, complete with crystal chandeliers, a live orchestra, and an open bar flowing with top-shelf liquor. It was the perfect setting, glamorous enough to lure Sarah in, public enough to maximize the embarrassment. Raj hacked into the company's event app, ethically, he insisted, though no one believed him, to anonymously RSVP for Mike and pair him with Sarah via the blind date mixer feature, a new addition meant to foster interdepartmental connections. Emily crafted the invitation email, making it sound intriguing. "Your perfect match awaits, someone who's been right under your nose all along." Lisa handled the wardrobe. She borrowed a suit from the lost and found, rumpling it just enough to look lived in but not sloppy. As the gala approached, the group buzzed with anticipation. They placed bets on how long Sarah would last before bolting. Tom said 5 minutes, Emily wagered 10. Sarah, oblivious, spent the week prepping like it was the Oscars. She splurged on a designer gown, a sleek emerald number that hugged her curves and shimmered under lights, paired with stilettos that could double as weapons and earrings that dangled like promises of luxury. "This guy's going to be blown away," she confided to Emily over coffee, who nodded enthusiastically while stifling a giggle. Mike, when approached by Lisa with the opportunity, raised an eyebrow but agreed with a shrug. Sure, why not? Could be fun. He didn't question the motive. Perhaps he sensed the joke but chose to play along, his quiet demeanor hiding depths no one bothered to explore. The night of the gala arrived under a canopy of stars. The hotel's entrance lined with limousines and flashing cameras from the local business press. Inside, the ballroom pulsed with energy. Executives in tuxedos schmoozed with investors, waiters circulated trays of caviar and champagne, and the orchestra played a sultry waltz. Sarah arrived fashionably late, her entrance turning heads as she scanned the room for her date. The app directed her to a secluded table near the dance floor, adorned with flickering candles and a bouquet of roses. She sat sipping a martini, her nerves hidden behind a mask of poise. Mike appeared moments later, stepping out from the shadows like a character in a fairy tale reversal. His rumpled suit hung awkwardly on his frame, not ill-fitting but clearly not tailored by a Savile Row artisan. His hands, calloused from wrenches and brooms, fidgeted slightly as he pulled out his chair. "Hi, I'm Mike," he said, his voice steady and warm, extending a hand that bore faint scars from past repairs. Sarah shook it, her polite grin faltering just a fraction as she took in his appearance. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like the janitor she vaguely recognized from late nights at the office. But blind dates were full of surprises, right? She forced the grin wider, her eyes darting around for an escape route or perhaps her friends who were huddled at a nearby bar, snickering behind their glasses. "So, what do you do here at Apex?" Sarah asked, steering the conversation to safe territory as a waiter refilled their drinks. Mike leaned back, his smile easy. "A bit of everything, really. Keep things running smoothly behind the scenes." It was the truth, but vague enough to intrigue. Sarah nodded, launching into her own spiel about marketing campaigns and viral strategies. Her words a flurry of buzzwords designed to impress. Mike listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions that caught her off guard, about the ethics of targeted ads, the impact on consumer privacy. He wasn't just nodding along. He was engaging, his insights sharper than she'd expected from someone in maintenance. As appetizers arrived, delicate foie gras on toasted brioche, Sarah's initial discomfort eased into curiosity. Mike shared snippets of his life, growing up in a small town, tinkering with gadgets in his garage, a love for restoring vintage cars. He didn't boast. He spoke with humility, his laughter genuine when she cracked a joke about office politics. From afar, the pranksters watched, their amusement turning to confusion. Why wasn't she fleeing? Tom checked his watch. It had been 20 minutes. Emily whispered, "Maybe she's playing along to save face." Raj zoomed in with his phone camera, capturing the scene for later laughs. The conversation deepened as the main course was served, seared scallops with truffle risotto. Sarah found herself opening up about her frustrations, the pressure to succeed in a male-dominated industry, the loneliness of climbing the ladder alone. Mike empathized, sharing how he'd seen the company's evolution from the ground up, witnessing the human cost of rapid growth. "People forget that behind every innovation there's sweat and heart," he said, his eyes meeting hers with quiet intensity. For a moment, the gala's glamour faded and it was just two people connecting amid the chaos. But the pranksters grew impatient. Lisa sidled over during a lull, pretending to check on them. "Everything okay here?" she asked, her tone laced with faux concern. Sarah beamed. "Great, actually. Mike's full of surprises." Lisa retreated wide-eyed as the group reconvened. "This isn't going as planned," Tom muttered. Emily laughed nervously. "Maybe the joke's on us." As dessert arrived, chocolate lava cake with raspberry coulis, the orchestra struck up a slow dance. Mike stood, offering his hand. "Care to?" Sarah hesitated, then accepted, her friend's snickers now audible from the sidelines. On the dance floor, under the chandelier's sparkle, Mike led with surprising grace, his calloused hand gentle on her waist. Sarah's mind raced. Who was this man, really? The janitor with hidden depths or something more? Little did she know the real revelation was yet to come, as the CEO prepared to take the stage. But for now, in this extended prelude to the twist, the prank hung in the balance, its architect squirming while Sarah and Mike waltzed into unexpected territory. The night, once a setup for humiliation, was unfolding into something genuine, the corridors of Apex Tech's intrigue giving way to the unpredictable rhythm of human connection. As the evening unfolded amid the symphony of clinking glasses, murmured corporate chatter, and the soft strains of the orchestra transitioning to a more subdued melody, the atmosphere in the grand ballroom thickened with anticipation. The gala had reached its zenith, the point where deals were sealed in hushed corners and egos inflated under the warm glow of chandeliers. Sarah and Mike had just returned to their table from the dance floor, her cheeks flushed from the unexpected whirl, his hand lingering a moment longer on hers as they sat. The pranksters Lisa, Tom, Emily, and Raj huddled at the bar, their earlier glee now tempered by a nagging unease. Sarah wasn't reacting as predicted. Instead, she seemed genuinely engaged, laughing at Mike's dry wit about the absurdities of office life. "This is backfiring," Emily whispered, swirling her cocktail. Tom nodded, his smirk fading. "Let's see how she handles the reveal. She'll bolt when she finds out he's just the janitor." But the night had other plans. The lights dimmed slightly, signaling the start of the formal program. A spotlight pierced the semi-darkness, illuminating the stage where Reginald Harlan, the venerable CEO of Apex Tech, stood tall in his impeccably tailored tuxedo. At 68, with silver hair and a commanding presence honed from decades of boardroom battles, Reginald was a legend in the tech world, a visionary who'd turned a garage startup into a multi-billion-dollar empire. The room hushed instantly, forks clattering to plates as hundreds of eyes fixed on him. He adjusted the microphone with a deliberate slowness, clearing his throat in a way that amplified through the speakers like a thunderclap. "Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, partners, and friends," Reginald began, his voice booming with the gravitas of a man who'd negotiated with titans. "Tonight marks not just another year of unprecedented growth for Apex Tech, but a pivotal moment in our journey. We've innovated, disrupted, and redefined what's possible in AI and sustainable tech. But behind every success story, there's an unsung hero, or in our case, a hero who's chosen to sing quietly from the wings." He paused, scanning the crowd, his piercing blue eyes that mirrored Mike's, landing purposefully on the table where Sarah and Mike sat. Mike shifted slightly, his expression unreadable, while Sarah felt a curious tingle of intrigue. "Tonight, I want to introduce someone special," Reginald continued, his tone shifting to one of paternal pride. "Many of you know him as our janitor, the man who keeps our offices spotless and our operations humming without fanfare. But Mike isn't just that." A murmur rippled through the audience, a mix of confusion and curiosity. Heads turned toward Mike, who met the stares with a calm nod. Sarah's brow furrowed. She glanced at him, sensing the air crackle with unspoken secrets. From the bar, the pranksters leaned forward, Lisa's hand gripping her glass tightly. This wasn't part of the script. They'd expected awkward small talk, not a spotlight. "Mike is my son," Reginald declared, the words dropping like a bombshell. Gasps erupted, sharp and collective, echoing off the high ceilings. Whispers spread like wildfire. "His son? The janitor? No way, that can't be." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth, her emerald gown suddenly feeling too tight. "Mike?" The quiet, calloused-handed man who'd waltzed her across the floor? Reginald's offspring? The CEO pressed on, undeterred. "For years, Mike has been more than family. He's been our silent partner, the anonymous investor who's funded our boldest innovations from the shadows. While you've seen me at the helm, it's Mike's strategic infusions, his personal fortune from early ventures in green energy, that have propelled us forward. He's chosen humility over headlines, learning the company from the ground up, mopping floors to understand every cog in our machine." The room teetered on the edge of chaos, but Reginald wasn't done. "And starting tomorrow," he added, his voice rising to a crescendo, "Mike's taking over as my successor. I'll step into an advisory role, but Apex Tech's future is in his capable hands, hands that have fixed more than faucets. They've built empires." Silence crashed down like a tidal wave, swallowing the gasps and murmurs whole. It was the kind of hush that follows a revelation too profound for immediate reaction. A vacuum where minds raced to recalibrate. Eyes widened, jaws dropped. A waiter froze mid-pour, champagne bubbling over unnoticed. The pranksters' faces were a tableau of horror. Tom's smirk evaporated into slack-jawed shock. Emily's cocktail slipped from her fingers to shatter on the floor. Raj buried his face in his hands, and Lisa turned ashen, her meddling empire crumbling in an instant. Sarah's face drained of color, her mind a whirlwind. The man beside her, the one she'd dismissed as beneath her standards, then warmed to for his authenticity, was heir to the throne. Flashes of their conversation replayed, his insights into the company's soul, his humility masking a lineage of power. She felt a mix of embarrassment, awe, and an unexpected thrill. Her friends had set her up for a fall, but fate had flipped the script. Mike turned to her amid the silence, his eyes twinkling with that knowing wink, a subtle curve to his lips that said, "Surprise." It wasn't smug. It was inviting, as if sharing the joke rather than wielding it as a weapon. The silence lingered, heavy and electric, until Reginald broke it with a chuckle. "Mike, son, come up here." Applause erupted tentatively at first, then swelled into a thunderous ovation as Mike rose, buttoning his rumpled suit jacket with unhurried grace. He offered Sarah his arm. "Join me?" he murmured, his voice low amid the roar. Stunned, she took it, her stilettos clicking on the marble as they approached the stage. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, whispers trailing them. "Who's she?" "Lucky girl." On stage, Reginald embraced Mike, the father-son duo, a picture of quiet strength. "To new beginnings," Reginald toasted, raising a glass. The room followed suit, the clinks resuming, but now laced with a new energy. Respect, envy, curiosity. Back at the bar, the pranksters scattered like roaches in light. Lisa muttered excuses about fresh air. Tom vanished into the crowd. Emily feigned a phone call, and Raj slunk toward the exit. Their laughter had died in their throats, replaced by the bitter taste of irony. What they'd intended as a cruel jest had backfired spectacularly, exposing their pettiness while elevating Sarah into an unintended spotlight. As the keynote wrapped, Mike addressed the crowd briefly, his words measured and inspiring. "I've seen Apex from every angle, the boardroom dreams and the basement realities. Together we'll build a future where innovation serves everyone." Cheers followed, but his gaze kept drifting to Sarah, who stood beside him, her initial shock melting into a genuine smile. The gala resumed with renewed vigor, dancing, networking, toasts. But for Sarah, the night had transformed. What began as a blind date prank evolved into a serendipitous connection, a reminder that true worth isn't in titles or yachts, but in the quiet depths of character. In the hours that followed, as guests mingled and the orchestra played on, Sarah and Mike slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the city lights. "Did you know about the setup?" she asked, the cool night air brushing her skin. Mike leaned on the railing, his profile silhouetted against the skyline. "Suspected it. But I figured, why not see where it goes? Life's full of surprises." She laughed, the sound light and free. "Well, you certainly surprised me." They talked until dawn threatened, sharing dreams and vulnerabilities, the prank a distant memory. By morning, whispers of the night's twist dominated office chats and social media. The pranksters faced awkward reckonings, apologies, demotions hinted at, but Mike, true to form, handled it with grace, focusing on unity. Sarah, no longer boasting about winners, found herself reevaluating her standards. And Apex Tech? It thrived under new leadership, proving that sometimes the best leaders emerge from the shadows. In the end, the joke was eternally on them, the schemers who'd underestimated the janitor only to crown him king. But for Mike and Sarah, it was the start of something real, a story born from mischief but destined for more. The gala's silence had spoken volumes, echoing into a future rewritten by revelation.